Harold Osmer with LA Car. This time, we have a road trip idea for you. Great destination, city of El Paso de Robles. Paso Robles. Paso Robles. It actually works both ways. Now, Paso Robles is just about halfway between San Francisco area and Los Angeles. From Burbank, 200 miles, San Jose, 160. There you go, easy enough. Now you can get up there in a comfortable amount of driving time, a couple hours, and check out this place we're going to talk about, and then drive home. Or you can drive up, check out this place, and make it one of the several places that you investigate along the road. Now, the big place that we want to talk about today is the Estrella Warbirds Museum, as well as the Woodland Auto Display. These are both in the same location at the airport in Paso Robles. And it's wonderful. Now, I was expecting to go there and go to the Woodland Auto Display. And I knew there would be airplanes in the area. I didn't know that it was all part of the whole thing. So I thought, hey, let me make a quick video about this. And oh boy, were we ever surprised, and you will be too. The main entrance comes into the Warbirds Museum. And the Warbirds are out back, but they have a lot of military stuff there. It was way cool. Memorabilia, artifacts. Hey, read the sign. Look at that. From World War I, Korea, Vietnam, World War II. And I thought this was pretty slick. Aviation helmets from 1930, 40, 50, 60, and 70. I thought that was neat. And this is a good example of what the exhibits are in the military museum part here. A lot of just general artifacts. They're laid out in a very straightforward, logical sort of way. And it explains how they were used, what it was for, and that. There's no glorification of any of this stuff. It's more a way of being able to look at these things and grasp some sort of understanding of what it was like to be in the military in these particular eras. That's pretty much how it goes. It humanizes the military, if you will. I spent 6 years in the Navy myself, many moons ago, and do appreciate this sort of thing. And this museum was wonderful in that regard. You know, it's neat to see this stuff anyway, and it's great that it's all being held here at the museum, and it's very accessible. We were surprised at every turn. Another good collection of things. And I don't know where they got all this stuff, but there's certainly a lot of it. This was fascinating to me, too. You can stand in front of this big display case, and you can visibly see the different technology in the different rifles over the years. Then you go out back. Any guesses what that is? It's my favorite jet. F-14 Tomcat. See, now when I was in the service, this was the jet of record. And so that's why it's always had a soft spot for me. Let's try it again. What's this one? It's an F-4 Phantom. Look at that. Oh, way cool. When you get outside, there's a fine gravel area where all the jets are parked, but there's also a smooth, meandering concrete path that goes through there. So if you have someone that's in a wheelchair, or maybe you're pushing a stroller, you can get through this stuff pretty quick and easy. It's real simple to get around. Everything's close by, too. It's not spread out like you would find at an air show where, well, you got to walk miles and miles at an air show. Well, now, part of the military Warbirds Museum is they have a lot of other military technology. A lot of old signage. They got jeeps and tanks and trucks and guns. And everywhere you turn, first off, there's more green, but old signage. Oh, it's fascinating. And we've seen these things on the History Channel, and we've watched the movies, and we, looked at some history and whatever else. But it was just fascinating. And this part of our museum visit really caught us by surprise. It was a very pleasant surprise, and there's a lot of material to see. One of the big things we came for, though, as we mentioned, was the Auto Museum. Dick Woodland. There he is. Looks like a sprint car sitting there. That was for Turkey Night a couple of years ago. He was a Grand Marshal at a Ventura Raceway. And he's lent his fabulous skills towards collecting all this stuff and putting it out on display. You walk in the front door, and this is what you see. There's a wide variety of cars. That's one of those patent Benzes. Ford Motor Company commissioned a handful of those to be built, and then auctioned them off later. And that's one of them. Cars from several eras. Obviously, that was a 50s car, and that one looks like about a teens. And several others in here. Race cars back in the back. And don't forget to turn around and look at the walls. And look up. And there you go. Now, Dick Woodland has sponsored race cars for a long time. Central Valley mostly. So he has some of his cars around. We've all heard of Gilmore, of course. If you haven't, you're not really a race fan. Whether you've been there or not, I'd never been to Gilmore Stadium. It was gone long before I showed up. But they have midgets, sprint cars, modifieds, and every one of them has a little plaque in front of them to explain what it is you're looking at. Look at the stuff on the walls and on the floors, and they're spread, and they're turned in such ways that you can get right up next to these things and get a great look at them. I mean, of course, it's a museum, no touching. I would guess if you asked to, they might let you. But don't just do it. Here's something that surprised me, is how wide these pavement cars are. Now, that's a modified, but it's very similar to a sprint car. They are related, but when you get those big pavement tires on there, boy, those suckers get really wide. NASCAR is well represented. This is a Tide car. There's a Tony Stewart car. One of my favorites was this guy, Al Tasnady from it's a 1957 Ford. Tasnady was big on the Northeast. He had over 600 wins. He was way cool. And here's the inside of his car, of course. And if you look close, you can see his seat is rotated a little bit in the mounting there. Now, my guess is when he ran this back in 57, and it ran all the way through 64, he probably had a full floor in it and it wasn't as rusted and gross as it is now. Indy cars, boy, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. And there came a point along the way as I'm walking through and looking at the walls, and I knew I would put together some sort of video like this and talk about it, and I wanted to get some pictures, and there's no way I could take a picture of everything. In fact, it got to a point to where I decided to just put that camera in my pocket and say, forget it. Stop taking pictures and let's just absorb this place. It was fabulous. And my wife was there with me, and she wandered off her way, and I wandered off my way, and as I mentioned earlier, don't forget to turn around. And she come back around and said, hey, did you see this over here? And I said, my what? And I go to look over there, and it's almost as though there's a hidden passageway that leads to yet another room full of stuff. I'm not going to bother trying to explain all of these things that you're seeing here. I'm just going to let you know it's all in one place, and it's in Paso Robles. There's a driving suit, Carrie Hendricks, hanging up on the rack next to John Redican's. I got some history with John Redican. Positive, of course. There's Carrie Hendricks' car. I don't want to talk too much about Carrie Hendricks. She was very popular and had a tragic end to it. But there it is. And a whole bunch of Ascot stuff, of course, because Ascot was a big deal for sprint cars and dirts, and it was there from 57 through 90. There's a t-shirt in the back there from the final Don Peabody race where all the drivers signed it. In that room in the back, ooh boy, it's like the research room. Whole bunch of books and magazines and things, and they'll let you look at those. You want to ask first, of course. Now look at this. That silver one back there, that's the land speed car for Damian Gardner. World's fastest sprint car. I happened to be the announcer at Bonneville for SCTA for that year when he first came up with that. And we got to meet each other, and it was a pretty good time. Here's the last Brahmi car on display. Dean Thompson's car. Oh, a bunch of famous names down there on that plaque. A lot of these cars, I'm guessing, didn't ever really look this good when they were racing, but they sure are beautiful now. You get into the research room. It's Bobby Unser at the wheel of a National. And there's a tribute to the West Coast Stock Car Motorsports Hall of Fame, of which Dick Woodland is a member as of 2018, as you can see there. And they have a nice display for the Hall of Fame. That's Dick Woodland on the right, Jim Naylor, Ventura Speedway, or Ventura Raceway on the left. That was Turkey Night Grand Prix. And number 98, this one, pink race car, which I thought was fun because owned by an Asian couple. And those funny characters on the front, that's characters, Chinese characters for 98, which is the number of the race car. So there you go. Hey, find your way to Paso Robles and go visit the Estrella Warbirds Museum. It's right next to the Woodland Auto Display. They share walls. It's wonderful. We had a great time. You know, it's just a couple hours north of LA, a couple hours south of San Francisco. This is Harold Osmer, LA Car.